Hello everyone, and thank you very much for watching. This is me, Mr. P, and in this episode of Self-Hosting Lab series, I want to talk to you about PHOTON OS. So let's begin. First of all, what is PHOTON OS? Let's jump into GitHub repo and let's check what this OS is all about. If I scroll down past all the updates and jump straight to README section, you will find that what is PHOTON OS? PHOTON OS is an open source Linux container host optimized for cloud native applications, cloud platforms, and VMware infrastructure. PHOTON OS provides a secure runtime environment for efficiently running containers. So pretty much this OS is built for one purpose only: run Docker containers as efficiently as possibly can. But then you will start thinking, wait a minute, Mr. P, you already done a video about something like that. And yes, you would be right. Around 3 months ago, I created a video guiding you how to set up and run Flatcar container Linux OS inside the proxmox and how to use that to run your Docker containers. So then your next question might be, so what's the difference? There is obviously quite a few differences between Flatcar container Linux OS and the PHOTON OS. The main difference between these two OS is that PHOTON OS allows you to install other packages post installation or post first setup process. On the Flatcar, once the OS is set up and is starting, you cannot add anything, you can't remove anything, because the Flatcar container Linux OS is an immutable OS. That means that whatever you set up during first initial setup process, you can just later, a day later, 2 days later, a week later, add something new to that. Where with PHOTON OS, you can install other packages 2 days later, a year later. It's not locked, so you can go and adjust the OS to meet your requirements. So how we're gonna get this one virtualized inside proxmox? First thing, we need to go and download ISO file. Inside the README section on the Git repo, if I scroll down, you will see an option saying getting started. And then you need to go and click on the, where is it? Here we go. Getting started, PHOTON OS wiki. If I click on that, it will open up the wiki about this PHOTON OS, and in here we will find the download PHOTON OS 5.0. Or if you go into their website, you just click a download button and it will take you to a GitHub page where you can choose what kind of ISO file, what kind of image you want to use to run PHOTON OS. As you can see, there is quite a few options. We can go with full ISO for ARM, minimal ISO, and so on and so on. And you can choose, for example, if you want to run inside Amazon or Google Cloud, or the Azure, or running even on the Raspberry Pi. And if I go on this page, which is loading, here we go, it pretty much takes me to the same place. So you can go to the download section via website or via GitHub repo. I'll leave a link to this page in the description below just to save you a couple of seconds of just hunting around where to download. So we need to download this ISO file. I will just right click on that and choose copy link. So that copies the link to download ISO file directly. I will go to my proxmox server, click on the vault and ISO files. This is where I keep all my ISO files. As you can see, there is a PHOTON OS already showing up here, but just to make sure that it's up to date, I will paste a link here and press query URL and press download. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, it's download. It says error because there is a file already exists. So I do have ISO file for PHOTON OS, which is most recent. As you can see, I downloaded that around the 16th of September. So right now we have ISO file. Next thing, we need to go and start setting up virtual machine. To create PHOTON OS virtual machine inside your proxmox server, first thing what you need to do is click on the create VM at the top right hand corner and then provide the name. So we'll call this PHOTON OS. Under OS, you might go and straight away select the PHOTON OS ISO file, but this will not work because by default, the CD or virtual DVD drive or virtual CD drive will be added as IDE. We need to set this up as SATA. So I'm going to say right now, or I'm going to choose do not use any media under OS. Under system, leave everything as default. Under disks, you create how much storage you want to give to this PHOTON OS. I'll leave this as SCSI and inside my fast storage, and I will give it 32 gigabytes of storage for this. Under CPU, the more the better, so I'll give 4. And under memory, I will bump this up all the way to 4 GB of RAM. Under network, everything is by default. I leave it no and changing nothing unless there is your proxmox setup is in some way custom configured for a different bridge, etc. This is where you change the network. And under confirm, I can see that it gives me a list of everything what I just assigned to this virtual machine. I do see it's 4 cores, 4 GB of memory. There is a name, etc., etc. Everything looks okay. And do not start after creation. I will not tick this, and I'll press finish. So let's wait for proxmox to create this virtual machine, which is going to show up here under ID number 115. Let's wait for a second. Here we go. That's created. Now I need to click on this virtual machine, and under hardware, I need to click under or click add, choose CD/DVD drive, and from IDE, I need to choose SATA. And then I'll pick storage, which is Vault. This is where I keep my ISO files. And under ISO files, I'll choose PHOTON OS ISO file. And that is it. I'm going to click add. So that's right now added, but it's not going to start or it's not going to boot from this DVD drive that we just added. And the reason why is because it is manually added, not via creation page. And while we're on here, as you can see, this is the one that automatically gets assigned when you're creating a virtual machine. As you can see, it's under IDE. We don't want that. We're just going to remove that. We're going to say that we don't need this. So right now we have SATA CD DVD drive. We're going to click on options, and then under boot order, I will select that and click edit, or you just double click. And the SATA, I will move all the way to a second place. And the reason why I do this is just my habit that once the VM starts, obviously it will find the hard drive first, but there's nothing in there. So will go to a second boot on the list, and that is ISO file. I'm just going to click OK. And right now we can go and start installing PHOTON OS. So I'm just going to click start and wait for VM to start. VM installation starting. And as you can see, it says right now Photon installer boot menu, and install is already selected. Let me drag that a bit to the left. And right now what I'll do is press enter. And right now it's all going. If you're not going to see this startup window, most likely you picked the wrong CD or DVD drive standard, which is IDE or SATA. You need to make sure that this SATA created. So right now it gives me T's and C's. I'm just going to say, okay, accept that. It tells me that it's found a drive, 32 GB storage under dev SDA. I'll say that's fine. I will pick auto to just partition everything and create a drive as it needs to be created. I'm not going to go and start messing around with the custom settings. So I'm just going to press enter. And now you see there is 4 options. And these 4 options is you can pick 1, 2, 3, or 4 depending on what you need. I have a little cheat sheet here on the right for me, and let me read it for you exactly what of this each option means. So minimal is the smallest footprint, only core OS plus container runtime support. Perfect if you just want Docker and containers and nothing extra. Developer option includes everything what minimal does, plus it adds extra packages like Make, Git, Python, Go, and etc. OS tree host is made specifically where is really like a Git-like experience OS. So you do something different and you create a commit. If something happens, you roll back. So if you want to basically use this OS almost like a Git repository, you can do that. And the real time is where low latency is critical, real-time performance, low latencies, etc. And Photon OS team recommends this option if you want to use that in telecoms or embedded systems or industrial control machines. I'm just running a home lab, so 2, 3, and 4 is not for me. I'm just going to pick option 1 and press enter. And now it's asking me how do I want to configure my network. If you want, you can go and configure everything via DHCP, manually, or VLAN. I'm just going to say automatically, and it's going to work fine for me. So next, I need to provide hostname. I'll delete all these random numbers, and I will just say OS at the end. Let's do -OS, and I press enter. Root password needs to be 8 characters or more. So I'll just going to give this root password like that. And now start installation. All data of the selected disk will be lost. Press yes to confirm or no to quit. I'm just gonna select yes, or it's already selected, and I'll press go for it. So right now, PHOTON OS installing OS into the hard drive. So this will take just a couple of seconds or so. Every time I'm installing PHOTON OS, it never takes more than a minute or so. Usually just a couple of seconds. So I'm just gonna wait and I'll come back when this is done. I do see a congratulations page saying that PHOTON has been installed in 56 seconds. Press any key to continue boot. I'm just gonna press enter and wait for PHOTON OS to start. Startup process, again, it takes quite quick. Obviously, this boot up screen, you will need to wait. There's a timer behind in the background that does a countdown from 5 seconds. So if you just leave that open, it automatically will boot in a PHOTON OS. And that's it. PHOTON OS is booted. Asking me to log in. Default username is root, and a password is the one we created during the installation process. And that's it. I am logged into PHOTON OS. And if you've been using proxmox for quite a while, you will know that copy and paste commands inside the virtual machine, this console is not really user friendly. You can't just copy and paste in here. With the LXC containers, you can copy and paste commands back and forward. With VMs, is basically what you see is only keyboard inputs. You can't just copy data into the screen. So to make sure that I do have option to copy in, first thing I need to find, I'll SSH, sorry, what I meant to say is I will SSH into the system. First thing I need to find out what is the IP address of a system, and it is ending with 128. Next thing, I need to edit SSH config file to allow SSH access. If I type nano etc ssh sshd to edit that configuration file, as you can see, I'll get the message saying nano command is not found. So what we need to do, we need to install nano to use it. Obviously there is a Vim, but I'm not the fan of the Vim. So if you are a fan of the Vim, you can go and use that. I don't like Vim. I will use nano instead. And this is a good example to demonstrate that you can actually add additional packages into PHOTON OS after installation. To do that, first of all, we need to update the system. To update the system, you probably will straight away type apt, and that's not going to work. There's a specific package manager inside the PHOTON OS that you need to use to update and upgrade. And that package manager is basically tdnf. I'm sorry, I forgot what that stands for, but basically you need to type tdnf space update. And I'll press enter. And it will go and fetch all the stuff that it needs to update. As you can see, total installed size 638 megabytes, total download size 213 megabytes. And just before actually installing, I want to show you something. Straight away, without any other updates, anything, straight away, the OS is only 751 megabytes in size. This is how small it is. It's less than a gigabyte in size, all this OS. So tdnf update. Let's run that again. As you can see, capital N, that means if I will not pick anything, default will be no. I need to press Y and then press enter. And now PHOTON OS goes and grabs all the updates, all packages, downloads them and installs them. So let's wait for a second for this to finish. So we have everything updated. So let's try to run tdnf upgrade just to double check. And it's going and check if there is anything needs to be upgraded. No, just a quick side note. The update process, the initial update process actually took longer than actual OS installation, which was 56 seconds. So this just shows how fast this OS gets installed inside the drive. So right now we have that installed, everything we have on this OS, all the packages updated and upgraded. Next, we can go and install nano. To install nano, I need to type tdnf install nano, enter. It will go and fetch everything. I'll press Y and enter, and it will go and download. So right now, let's check the size of this OS. So we jumped from 700 to 1, where I can't remember what was before, but I think that might change or not. Hard to say. I can't remember what the value was. I will basically do a post edit to see if it actually changed. Anyway, nano is installed. Now I can go and amend SSH file. To do that, I'll type nano space /etc/ssh/sshd_config. Press enter, and I will scroll down until I find the option which it says permit root login. Says no. I'm just going to say yes. Control X to close, Y to confirm, Enter to write. That's done. I need to restart SSH service to make sure that it's taking a new config file. To do that, I need to type systemctl restart sshd. Enter. So that's restarted. Next, let's double check IP address because I already forgot. 128. One thing I'll show you that the proxmox have option to add the tags, and how I use the tags as I always add the last number of IP address. That is much easier for me to then go back and know what IP address I need to use to access these services. For example, Tailscale IP address is 192.168.178 ending with 88. For example, Home Assistant is 30, Pi-hole is 113, Docker runs at 176, Chasm 44, and so on. So this is just kind of a quick tip how you can use tagging system inside the proxmox. So right now that is changed and it's ready for SSH into. So I will open the warp SSH app and type SSH root, and let's go and change that in 128. I'll accept the fingerprint, provide the password, and I am inside the PHOTON OS. So next thing what we can do is check if the Docker is running. So if I type Docker, press enter, as you can see Docker is loading. Let's try to run a command. For example, Docker run hello world, press enter. So it will tell me that Docker is not running. And this is one thing that has kind of caught me off guard in the video about the flat car, that Docker not always starts, or Docker is disabled to auto start on OS. And that caught me off guard while recording this video. And one of the comments from a viewer pointed that out. So thank you to that person who pointed that out. So I'm just going to make sure I won't make the same mistake in here. And to make sure that Docker is actually running, we need to type system. Let me quickly just do that. System, oops, misspelled. Systemctl enable Docker, and then we go back to the same command, and instead of enable I will put start. So enable Docker and then start Docker. And now if I type Docker, as you can see Docker is already showing everything. So I'm going to type Docker run hello world, press enter, and as you can see right now Docker is going and fetching the container and just spitting out the hello world page. Everything runs perfectly. So what I would recommend to run as a first container in this OS, and that would be Portainer. So let's go and grab a Portainer command. There is no Docker Compose on this system as far as I know. So Docker Compose, nothing showing up. But if I'm gonna try to run a Docker Compose version 1, not running, version 2 with a space, not running, that's not a big deal. We can use Portainer. To run a Portainer, or how I run a Portainer in this kind of environment like PHOTON OS, I like to first of all create a directory which will be with the name of the container. So in this case, it's going to be make directory, mkdir Portainer. Change directory to that directory. And in here, I will create a file with a meaningful name. For example, run Portainer container. Okay, try to say that 5 times in a row. And that's it. And in here, I'll paste the command of all this Docker run command to run this Portainer. So as you can see, it's all this. Just go and run all that, and this will create a Portainer Community Edition, latest version. And as you can see on this command, there is a -v which indicates the volume. So I need to create a volume which is Portainer_data. So Control X to close, Y to write, Enter to confirm, and make directory Portainer data. So right now inside the Portainer directory, I have the file which is called run Portainer container, and I have the folder Portainer data. To run that, I'm just going to type bash run Portainer container. And that's it. And right now Docker goes and fetches all the necessary files for this to work. So that's starting. And right now, if I type docker ps, I do see a Portainer container running on the port 9443. Let's go in a browser and enter the IP address, which is going to be 192.168.178.128.9443. And don't forget HTTPS at the front because this runs under HTTPS. The Portainer done this change quite a while ago. It no longer goes via port 80 or standard HTTP. You need to run via HTTPS. It gives me self-certificate warning, which I'm just going to accept. And that's it. Right now, asking me to create a user. So that needs to be 12 characters password. So create a 12 characters or more password. As you can see here, it says it needs to be at least 12 characters long. I created my password and press create user. Let's close that. I want to create a Docker, and that's it. And right now I do have a Portainer running inside the PHOTON OS. Quick things I like to do when I set up the fresh Portainer instant is go straight away to environment related, and in the environments I click on the local and change the name. Let's say to PHOTON OS. Let's do this way, OS Docker, and provide the public IP address. And this is not your home internet public IP address. Is pretty much the IP address of this container of this OS, which in my case is 192.168.178.28. And I'm just going to say update environments. And I do this because when you're running a bunch of stuff inside via Portainer, it's much easier to go under stacks, for example, or under containers and actually click on the IP address, which then, if you look here on the bottom here, left-hand corner, it automatically pre-assigns the IP address of this Portainer instant and as the ports that you see here. So that's fine. That is running romantic. This is the romantic burner. This is our hello world. We can actually go and remove that. We don't need that. And on the images, hello world image, we can select that and remove that and remove that. So right now we have a Portainer running. Let's run another container just to show that you don't need Docker Compose to run a containers inside this OS. For this, I chose SyncThing container. So this is a SyncThing compose file that you can find inside linuxserver.io website. I'm just going to copy all that. Jump back into Portainer, click on a stacks, add a stack, give it a name. Let's say it's going to be SyncThing. Paste all that in. Right now I need to provide where everything will be stored. Let's jump back into SSH. And my current directory is here. So let's cd space ... brings you one folder back, one directory back. So right now my directory is just in root. I'm going to type SyncThing. And in here, let's change directory to SyncThing. Come on, pick it up. Oh, sorry. mkdir SyncThing. I misspelled that, or I wrote the wrong command. So right now I'm inside the directory SyncThing. First directory I'm going to call config, and the next directory I'm just going to call data. So let's go and select all that. Type root SyncThing config, and in here I will delete all that and type root SyncThing data, and there's going to be my data, and we don't need this, so I'm just going to put a hashtag in front which comments that out. Everything looks okay. Oh yeah, I need to change the time zone to where I live, and let's say 100 should be fine. We can actually go and add the user inside PHOTON OS. Just to make it simple for this video, I'm just going to change from 1000 to 1000. Sorry, not 100 to 100. From 1000 to 1000 into 0 and 0. Everything looks okay. I'm just going to scroll down and press deploy the stack. And Portainer, what it does in the background is takes this compose file, converts that into a single line Docker run command, and then starts a container for us. So if you want to use Portainer for your home lab, there is no need to install Docker Compose file because Portainer will do all the magic in the background. So right now I have my first stack is running, which is SyncThing. I'll click on that. And right now if I scroll all the way to the right, this is the IP address or port number I need to use to access the SyncThing instant. And because I gave the IP address inside the environments, which is just, we'll show again. Let's go into environment related, environments, PHOTON OS. This is the IP address I provided. Because I added the IP address here, I don't need to go and basically manually enter IP address every time I want to access the service from Portainer. I'm just going to click on this port and it automatically will open up for me. Yes, that's fine. Settings, it's asking me to provide username and a password. Let's call this like that. Save, it will refresh, ask me to enter the password, username and a password I just created. And that's it. And I have a SyncThing running inside PHOTON OS. So that is it. PHOTON OS is very lightweight, very fast and robust OS if you want to run Docker containers inside your home lab. all the links that you need, all the things that I used in this video, all the links that you need to make this run inside your home lab, you will find in the description section just below the like button. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and like always, I see you in the next one. Goodbye.